So these are some interesting things from the testimony on Congress because Kennedy was up, and of course, all the Democrats were going at him. Again, this was a former Democratic presidential candidate, and they loved him until he went to endorse Trump and went to work for him. And now, of course, he's a fascist and one of the most evil people on the planet, even though he's been a Democrat his whole life. Even members of his own family are talking shit about him, which is, shows you how divided things are. And that's what the media does. It's just pumping out propaganda. You lean left, you lean right. People that only get their information from mainstream media just believe whatever's on TV.
I think
They
it's going
still
to
trust it.
get more divided now
Well, it's
after
like,
this.
when you look at who trusts the media, the Democrats is pretty high. They're like the highest, and the Republicans and the independents are very low. People that are on Twitter understand what's really going on. But people that just consume newspapers, New York Times, mainstream media, and again, 95, 99% of the people that are writing the news are Democrats, and they can't be unbiased. And so when you got one side writing all the news and information, it's always going to be slanted in their favor. So and especially the ones that are always screaming misinformation and disinformation are the ones that are actually pushing the stuff.
Yeah.
They're the most ignorant. Just like the guys like, oh, get educated, watch some history or read some history. It's like, shut the fuck up. Usually those are the most ignorant people that, say those stupid platitudes. All right, so this is JFK. What was this one about?
It just says it
What's going
doesn't say anything.
Yeah, let's see what he has to say.
We were lied to about everything. We were lied to about natural immunity. We were lied to about, we were told again and again the vaccines would prevent transmission, they prevent infection. It wasn't true. They knew it from the start. It wasn't true because that's what the animal studies and the clinical trials showed. We were told that there was science behind cloth masks. The CDC allowed the teachers union to write the order closing our schools, which hurt working people all over the country, and then pretend it was science-based. We were lied.
Next one. So it's basically, he was talking about the COVID stuff. Now it was all, remember, it's going to, 100% efficacy. It'll keep you from getting sick. It'll keep you from transmitting it. And then when that didn't work, they basically got to the point where well, it'll keep you from getting really sick and dying. You'll still get sick, but you won't get that sick. I had friends that are liberals that were, just kept getting one booster after another, and every time they get a booster, I'd be on the phone with them and like, got a cold, flu, like, what the fuck, you're sick? Oh, I got the latest boosters. Like, well, maybe there's some correlation. Every time you get a COVID shot, you tend to get COVID again. Maybe it's not working. And if it's a vaccine, the whole reason of getting a vaccine is so you don't get it, you don't transmit it. And so people that haven't got it, if you're vaccinated, then you're protected. But the people on the left are like, oh, you got to protect me. So the world was just completely upside down. So this is a crazy, so again, this is from testimony. So the reality is that, so Kennedy here is talking about the guy that was fired from the CDC that, of course, all the liberals were applauding. It's that bald Satanist gay dude that his pictures were all over the internet. He's got a big pentagram tattooed on his chest. And so this guy was at the CDC for God knows how long. He was in charge of the VAERS system, which is reporting, bad, side effects. And just a small fraction of them even make it in there. And on top of that, when they would do studies and it would show that there's a connection between certain things happening, because I have to watch what I say, because you're still not really allowed to say it on YouTube about the A word, the autism word. That, their position is there's no connection between vaccines and autism. And then yet what Kennedy is saying here is that they would have studies that were not, that would show that there was I think it probably might be the next clip after this. We'll get to that. But when there was data that wasn't flattering to the narrative, they just said delete all the data and not report it, which is the CDC. You're supposed to be able to trust them.
Say one thing. Hey, SR, fuck you, SR.
Okay.
The shit he said there.
All right. So let's play this clip here. So this particular guy, Kennedy's in charge. He's been confirmed by the Senate um, to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. And he says, he gives orders, and this guy was just stonewalling him and not giving him the information, not giving him the data on vaccine safety and all this other stuff, and hiding it from him. And so once RFK found out who it was, he fucking fired the guy. And of course, then he goes on a media tour. And the thing I look at, it's like this guy's covering up the data. He's responsible for help hide data that's unflattering to the vaccine companies and deleting studies that go against the narrative. And on top of that, he's a Satanist. And you got to think this guy knows he's fucking people up. And so I was talking about Chunky about this the other day. It's like if the guy's a Satanist and he's in a position of authority at the CDC and he's hiding all his data, he must get off on it. He must enjoy people dying. That's the only thing that would make sense. Because if you're a good person and you got data that contradicts the narrative, you're gonna put it out there. But of course, he hid it. And you're like, well, why would he do that? What's the motivation? So, roll the clip.
That individual actually came to my attention because early on during the measles outbreak, I promised Governor Abbott to send some money down, badly needed money, and help down to Texas. And this individual blocked that money for a month. I couldn't figure out what's happening. I gave the order, I'm running this agency. How come nothing's happening? And we tried to get the vaccine safety data link, which is the data that supposedly the CDC tries to use to make good decisions on whether vaccines are hurting people and what their side effects. For 7 months, he stonewalled us so that we could not get that data. He's also the individual that runs the VAERS system, which is the surveillance system for injuries. That captures, according to CDC's own study, fewer than 1% of vaccine injuries. This is malpractice. These people are the people who ordered our children to walk around in masks. They're the people who closed our schools. They're the people who imposed social distancing with no science, shut down our businesses, and they need to go. We need new blood, and we need new people who are committed to public health and integrity and gold standard science. And the Trump administration is going to make sure that happens.
Oh, so this was the one I was talking about. So it was in 2002, as the chief scientist at the CDC was brought into a room and ordered to destroy data from a study showing that black boys who got the MMR vaccine, which is measles, mumps, and rubella, on time versus those who waited, had a 260% higher chance of being diagnosed with autism. And I don't know if it's in this clip or not. It might be another one, or it got cut off. But he was also saying there's like over 1,000 examples of this, where they got data, was saying there's a problem, and the people at the CDC said no, just delete the data. And we're ordered to do that. And again, the reason why YouTube doesn't allow you to talk about this stuff is because they say, well, the CDC says this. Well, if the people that are running the CDC are fucking lying and pumping out bad data or hiding and deleting bad data, it's like you can't make an informed, intelligent decision if the people in government, the Satanists basically that was in charge of this shit, is hiding it for people. You were like, what's the motivation? Was he paid off? Does he get off on people getting killed and fucked up because he's a Satanist? What's going on with that? Let's roll clip.
Yeah, I'll just send you one example, and I could sit here and give you thousands. But in 2002, CDC did an internal study of Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia children, and looked at children who got the MMR vaccine on time and compared those to kids who got them later. So in other words, kids who got them before 36 months and kids who got them afterward. The data from that study showed that black boys who got the vaccine on time had a 260% greater chance of getting an autism diagnosis than children who waited. The chief scientist on that, Dr. William Thompson, the senior said, vaccine safety science at CDC, was ordered to come into a room with four other co-authors by his boss, Frank DeStefano, who's the head of the immunization safety press, and ordered to destroy that data. And then they published it without that fact. Yeah, I mean,
People that did that need to go to jail. I mean, it's like that's just unconscionable. Because you're supposed to be able to trust your government, and it's pretty obvious that they've been pumping out bullshit. So here's another one. This is on chronic disease. So 76.4% of Americans, all Americans, this is all Americans, have some kind of chronic disease. And when he was saying when JFK was president in early 60s, it was 11%. Or I'm sorry, in 1950 it was 3%. So that's fucked up. Because I remember growing up, it's like, because the narrative is, oh, well, they just weren't diagnosing autism. It's like, I know autism was just not a thing growing up. We didn't hear any of it. Now it's like, what is it? 1 out of every 36 kids gets autism now? It's like something's fucked up. It's, there's something that's happening that's causing that. That's not normal. But of course, you're not supposed to be allowed to ask any questions about it.
Morning, I got the latest numbers from CDC that 76.4% of Americans now have chronic disease. This is stunning. My uncle was president, it was 11%, 1950 was 3%. Today it's 76.4%. 8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue. When my uncle was president, we spent zero on chronic disease. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion. It's the biggest cost. It's increasing. And all of the arguments that Republicans, Democrats have about single payer, Obamacare, or with the various ways to allocate the health dollars, they're all like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you.
And I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, this is why it's always good to be skeptical of the government. It's just, thinking that government is your personal Jesus and that it's going to be your mommy and take care of everything is just stupid. And so that's that's unconscionable when you look at that. So anyways, we got a super chat here.